This whole Ace Bailey draft situation doesn't make any sense. A couple months ago, Ace was considered one of the top prospects in the upcoming draft. He was easily locked in as a top 5 pick, with most mock drafts having him as high as 3. But over the last few weeks, more and more information about him and his camp has come out, and he's been falling down people's boards ever since. The NBA draft is literally less than a week away, and Ace still hasn't visited or worked out with a single team. Every player in the entire class has met with at least one team except for Ace Bailey. That's something that almost never happens, especially for someone that's not the clear-cut first overall pick. He did have a workout scheduled with the 76ers, who have that 3rd pick, so everyone just assumed he was holding out and going all in on the Sixers. But instead, Ace Bailey's camp, for whatever reason, canceled the workout. So right now, absolutely nothing makes sense. Not meeting with any teams when the draft is just days away is a wild approach. Although the 76ers have gone on record saying they aren't rolling out drafting him with that 3rd pick. But that's only one of the red flags going around right now. This honestly all started at the Combine, and there was a red flag right away. All season, Rutgers had Ace listed at 6'10", yet when the NBA measured him, he was only 6'7.5". Apparently, there's also reports that during his interviews with teams at the Combine, he seemed unprepared and had a lack of maturity. And not in the way you think, either. They said that he was apparently dancing while waiting in line for some of the Combine drills, which first of all is hilarious, and second of all isn't nearly as big of a deal as people are making it. Ace is an 18-year-old in the process of making his ultimate dream come true. I'd be dancing waiting in line too. Being called unprepared is definitely a bit of a concern though, and he said some pretty questionable stuff before. During one of the Combine broadcasts, they asked Ace to name 2 strengths and 1 weakness, which is a pretty standard question. This was his response: "I ain't got no weaknesses, and I got more than 2 strengths, big dog." That's what he said in response to that question. He's either going to be the greatest player ever or the biggest bust we've seen in years. I do want to mention that there's also multiple reports saying that he's not a bad kid and isn't just doing whatever he wants either. I'm not gonna lie, some of these reports are worded more like personal attacks than anything. And if you don't know, NBA draft season is full of lies and misinformation to try to throw other teams off, so who knows how real some of this new stuff is. Ace hasn't been doing himself any favors, but really it's his agency doing most of the damage. He signed a lifestyle sports agency, not life sports agency like I've seen some people saying. Life sports is way bigger and way more professional. Lifestyle sports agency is ran by former NBA player Sharife Cooper's dad. The only real name they have signed is Isaac Okoro, so I honestly have no idea why Ace Bailey chose to sign with them, especially as one of the top prospects. It looks like Lifestyle Sports is more focused on trying to get a piece of the pie when it comes to NIL, but they also represent those same players at the next level, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. The goal of an agent is to get their players signed to the highest possible contract, so in return they get a massive payday. But it can also be a very sketchy and manipulative business. Ace's camp has made it pretty clear that they want him to get drafted by a team where he can be the main guy almost right away. And to a certain extent, I get it. I honestly do think it's the best thing for him. He's one of those players that's gonna need a lot of reps. However, ruining your player's character and reputation in the process is probably doing more damage than good. Where you get drafted plays a massive part of your career for sure, but so does the way you're perceived by front offices. It's also odd because Sharife Cooper's dad was the agent for Sharife when he was getting drafted, and there were multiple red flags during that process as well. So it's not like he has a really good track record with getting guys drafted either, let alone the best players. Unless Ace already has a certain team that promised to select him, which I honestly think probably is the case, then this isn't looking good at all. Bailey's camp said they believe he's a top 3 player in the class and wants to be selected by a team that can provide a clear pathway to stardom. But is doing that worth absolutely destroying his reputation before he even gets to the league? I've seen people that don't actually know who he is call him a guaranteed bust and say that he's extremely arrogant. There's reports saying that Ace's camp was telling teams that they need to promise to select him if they want to see him work out or pay him for interviews. Who knows though, maybe Lifestyle Sports has an ultimate master plan that we won't fully understand until the draft. Right now, he still has the second best odds to get drafted 3rd overall, but VJ Edgecombe has completely overtaken him and is a decent favorite at this point, which honestly isn't anything too crazy. There are a lot of people that had Ace outside the top 3 anyways. He could go anywhere from 3 to 8. If the 76ers don't take him at 3, he could go to the Hornets at 4, and he's already talked about how cool it'd be to team up with LaMelo and Brandon Miller. However, that's probably not a place where he's going to be a star right away. The Jazz at 5 and the Wizards at 6 are both teams that he could be a star right away, but they do have young pieces there already. The Pelicans have a star as long as he stays healthy, and that leaves the Nets at 8, who will absolutely take him if he falls. They also have the money and assets to move up in the draft if they really want to. Brooklyn just feels like the best spot for him, and I think he feels the same way. Ace is literally throwing out the first pitch at a Mets game on Tuesday night. By the way, the draft is Wednesday night. So yeah, maybe there's something there, maybe there's not. He also just played basketball at Rutgers, which is in New Jersey, so he wouldn't be going far either. He was already an interesting prospect, but all of this new information coming out makes him that much more interesting. Ace is a player known for taking and making extremely difficult shots. He's also much more athletic than I think a lot of people realize. Although he definitely has his flaws, there are a lot of things he does really well. Which things are going to translate once he gets to the league is by far the biggest question. So drafting that player without getting to see him work out in person can make some teams pass on him. At the end of the day though, he's been a top player in his class for a reason. People forget that Ace was the #1 player in the class of 2024 before Cooper Flagg moved up. And despite a very chaotic season at Rutgers, he showed a lot of potential. Now we just have to wait and see how real that potential is. And if he can go on to have a successful career in the NBA, then no one will even remember that this whole thing happened. But let me know what you think about this Ace Bailey situation in the comments, and please leave a like to support the channel. Also subscribe if you're new for more basketball videos just like this one.